What causes you to purchase, something from the mall, something from the grocery store, has a great deal to do with what you have heard. Our life has been greatly influenced by words that we have heard. What we think, what we believe has been greatly influenced by words that we hear. So our hearing needs to be in tune with our living. If you want to have life, you have to hear the words that are going to yield or to give us life. Words that come from God. So now here's where I'm going with this. For many of us as believers, we are content and satisfied with coming to church, once a week, and I'm going to get my word. I'm going to let the pastor preach to me. I'll give him about 30, 35 minutes. He can get a word in, share what God is telling him to speak to that congregation. I'm going to get that word once a week. But after that, Sunday's over. The time of word ministry has ended. And then we live the rest of our week. Many people live the rest of their week not hearing what God has to say. You got to have more than a 1 week relationship with God, than a weekly word that comes from Him. Every word of God has life in it. So some of us are missing the words that have life, the words that we need to get through the current day that you're living in. I as a pastor, I see this happens so often that we live from Monday to Saturday waiting for Sunday and thinking that Sunday when I come, I'm going to get a word that's going to take care of all the madness that I've been listening to for the past 6 days. The past 6 days I've been inundated again with advertisements and distractions and influences, filling up my hearing with the words of the world that I live in. And I need the preacher in a 35-minute sermon on Sunday to fix all of that. I'm challenging you as a believer to put yourself in position to hear the Word of God constantly, every day. You need His Word all the time. So it says that if we are going to believe Him, if we're going to hear Him, we can then believe Him. If we want to pass from death to life, we've got to be able to hear Him so we can then believe Him. We cannot believe what we have not heard. So Jesus compels us, first hear what I'm saying to you so you can believe the words that I have spoken to you. Our hearing and our believing will give us passage, transition from death to life. How do we pass from death to the absence of the presence of God? That's what death is. To the absence of hearing the words of life. How do we pass from death to life? By hearing first, hearing and then believing. Faith comes by hearing. Our faith is developed. Our faith is strengthened by what we hear. And God calls us to hear Him, calls us to hear His Word so that we can pass from death to life. That's the objective. He wants to bring us out of our deadness into our true path of real life. That's the objective here. We shared in the previous program, God's not trying to just fix us, change behavior. He's trying to correct the course, to bring us out of that path that leads to destruction, to bring us away from that path that leads to death, the absence of His presence, and to bring us into that path that leads to life. So He calls us. How can He get our attention? He calls us, speaks to us with words that are filled with life.